The setting sun cast long shadows across Victor Hayes's Los Angeles penthouse office, painting the polished hardwood floors in shades of amber and gold. The view from the 70th floor showcased the city he dominated over 2 decades, turning inherited assets into a $2 billion enterprise through calculated risks and unrelenting resolve. At 50, he was an imposing presence. Tall, broad-shouldered, with piercing blue eyes that seemed to unravel pretense with a single glance. Tonight, those eyes were locked on a small leather-bound book, his 16-year-old daughter Ava's journal. He hadn't planned to read it. Privacy was a principle he valued. But when his head of security, Connor Blake, had placed it on his desk with quiet urgency, duty overrode principle. "Sir," Connor had said, his usually calm demeanor troubled. "You need to see this." Page 39. The spine creaked softly as Victor opened to the marked page. Ava's neat handwriting filled the lines. "Mom's boyfriend Daniel is amazing. He really gets me. Not like Dad, who's always shoving his stupid rules down my throat. Daniel used Dad's card to give me a car today. A sleek white Tesla. He just laughed and said, 'Your clueless father won't notice.' He's right. Dad doesn't. Even check the accounts were draining. I can't wait for Mom to finalize the divorce, so Daniel can officially be my dad instead." Each word landed like a fresh blow. Daniel says Dad's too obsessed with his company to care about anything else. He's right. Dad wouldn't notice even if he did know. All he cares about are his ridiculous rules. No social media, perfect grades, boring summer internships. Daniel says I deserve better. At least Mom agrees. She says once the divorce is done, we'll never have to deal with Dad's control again. Victor closed the journal, his expression inscrutable. Years of maneuvering through the corporate world's most cutthroat corridors had taught him to mask his emotions. He pressed the intercom button on his desk. "Rachel, give me Liam Cho from IT Security. Now!" While waiting, he glanced at the internship application spread across his desk. Ava's complaints about her summer internship suddenly carried a new weight. What he had dismissed as teenage rebellion now seemed like part of a larger scheme. Liam Cho arrived within minutes, laptop in hand. The young IT director had earned his reputation through groundbreaking work in cybersecurity. "Mr. Hayes," Liam began, "I've been monitoring system access logs as requested. There's a troubling pattern tied to Ms. Ava's credentials." "Show me." Liam displayed a series of graphs and logs on his screen. Over the past 3 months, her login credentials have been used to access financial records, client portfolios, even documentation for offshore accounts. Our protocols usually limit interns to basic data, but someone has systematically elevated her permissions with requests appearing to come from HR and the family office. "And you're certain this was Ava's doing?" Victor asked, his voice cold. "That's the alarming part," Liam replied. "The access logs point to multiple users, often during school hours when Ms. Ava would be in class. The IPs trace back to high-end restaurants and a penthouse in Beverly Hills." Victor's jaw tightened. The Beverly Hills penthouse. He'd heard Elena mention it as a new property tied to one of her charity acquaintances. "Give me all the details on that Beverly Hills address." "And Liam? This stays between us." After Liam left, Victor turned to the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the city lights spark to life. His marriage to Elena Bauer had always seemed ideal. Old money blending with new, beauty complementing ambition. She played the role of devoted wife and mother flawlessly until recently. The subtle shifts had been easy to overlook. More charity events, separate social circles, missed family dinners. His phone buzzed, a text from Elena. "Working late at the foundation, don't wait up." A quick check of his security feed revealed Elena's white Tesla pulling up to an upscale restaurant in Beverly Hills. The restaurant's reservation system, easily accessed by someone of Victor Hayes' influence, showed a table for 2 under the name Daniel Cross. Standing in his office, watching Elena step out of her car to meet her companion, Victor felt no sorrow, only a cold, calculated anger. He had built his empire by dismantling those who dared to challenge him. Now, as he looked at the journal on his desk and the live feed on his phone, he realized he had been blind to the betrayal brewing in his own home. His intercom buzzed. "Mr. Hayes," Rachel's voice came through, Liam Cho is here with the preliminary background check you requested. Send him in. Liam entered carrying a thick file. The ex-military IT specialist had been with Victor for 5 years, proving his loyalty time and again. Sir, the background on Daniel Cross. Liam laid out several photos, each showing Daniel with different affluent families over the years. His real name is David Sloan. He's methodical, selects his targets carefully, typically families with teenagers he can manipulate. He uses the kids to gather information while charming their mothers. Victor examined the photographs. Previous cases? 3 attempts, all smaller scale. Never more than a couple million, but nothing on this level. Liam hesitated. There's more, sir. We've identified some unusual transactions from your personal accounts. Small amounts at first, gradually increasing over the past year. Show me, Victor demanded. The financial data displayed a clear trend. $10,000 here, $40,000 there, culminating in recent 6-figure transfers. The car purchase was their test, Liam explained. They wanted to see if you'd notice a significant unauthorized expense. Victor nodded slowly. And Elena's charity work? A cover, Liam said. She's been networking with affluent women who've successfully divorced their husbands for millions. Her foundation board members are all experts in post-divorce wealth management. The pieces fell into place. Elena's insistence on Ava's internship, her sudden interest in financial matters, her evolving social circle. It all formed part of a meticulously crafted scheme. Your orders, sir? Liam asked. Victor turned back to the window, his reflection sharp against the night sky. Monitor everything, accounts, phone calls, meetings. I want to know who they talk to, where they go, what they spend, but keep your distance. Let them believe they're succeeding. And Miss Ava? A muscle tightened in Victor's jaw. My daughter made her choice. She's picked her side in this fight. Treat her accordingly. Hours later, Liam sat in his control room, surrounded by screens displaying camera feeds, data streams, and surveillance logs. The clock read 3:27 a.m., but sleep was out of the question. He had been piecing this puzzle together for months, his concern growing with each new revelation. His computer pinged. Another alert from the tracker on Elena's Tesla. The car was leaving Beverly Hills, but instead of heading home, it was en route to Malibu. Running late tonight? Aren't we? Liam muttered, typing notes into his report. He pulled up recent surveillance photos, Elena and Daniel leaving the restaurant, their body language unmistakably intimate. A knock at the door interrupted his work. Enter, he called. Victor Hayes walked in, impeccably dressed despite the late hour. Show me everything, he ordered. From the start. Liam nodded, pulling up a timeline on the central screen. It began 3 years ago. Mrs. Hayes started attending charity events alone while you were away on business. At first, nothing out of the ordinary, typical socialite activities. He clicked through a series of photos showing Elena at various galas and fundraisers. But then she joined specific boards and committees. Every woman in her circle had one thing in common. They'd all successfully divorced wealthy husbands. Liam highlighted profiles of Elena's inner circle. Patricia Whitman leveraged hidden asset discovery to secure $60 million. Sarah Yoon specializes in offshore account strategies. Victoria Ellis is an expert in corporate disputes to maximize settlements. As the screen displayed the profiles, Victor's expression hardened. The chessboard was set, and it was time to make his move. Diana Hall successfully secured intellectual property rights in her settlement. These women weren't just social acquaintances, Liam explained. They were mentors, each teaching Elena a specific method for systematic wealth extraction. Victor Hayes studied the names, recognizing several from Los Angeles' elite circles. Continue. 8 months ago, Daniel Cross enters the picture. Liam pulled up a comprehensive dossier. Introduced by Natalie Kerr, one of Elena's new associates. Natalie met him at a charity gala. At least, that's the official version. And the unofficial version? Victor asked, his voice icy. Liam's expression darkened. Natalie Kerr is actually Naomi Green. She works alongside David Sloan, our Daniel Cross, in an intricate scheme targeting affluent families. This isn't their first time, but it's the largest operation they've attempted. He showed Victor several case files. Their typical strategy is to focus on families with vulnerable teenagers. The teenager provides inside access while Sloan builds trust with the mother. Why us? Victor asked. Because of Ava, Liam replied, pulling up surveillance footage from the Hayes Fund offices. Your daughter's summer internship gave them a unique opportunity. Most teenagers from wealthy families can't even get near financial operations. But Ava? She had valid credentials, full system access, and even an assigned desk in the family office. The footage showed Ava at her desk late at night, photographing documents with her phone while Daniel waited in the lobby, appearing to be there to give her a ride home. Another clip showed Elena handing Ava her security badge, claiming she'd forgotten something in her office. They turned your rules into their weapon, Liam noted. Your insistence on Ava learning the business created the perfect entry point for their scheme. Victor's expression didn't waver, but his piercing eyes grew colder. Show me Elena's preparations. Liam brought up a detailed flowchart. She's been meticulous. First, she joined charity boards, crafting an image of financial expertise. Then, she gained signing authority over smaller accounts, always under the guise of legitimate business purposes. He clicked through several documents. Every move was deliberate. She joined the audit committee of your Tokyo office, giving her access to international transactions. She volunteered to liaise with high-value clients, building relationships she could later exploit. She even completed certified financial planning courses, creating a seemingly credible record of expertise. And Daniel's role? Victor pressed. Patient, extremely patient, Liam said, showing footage of Daniel at various charity events. He spent months embedding himself in social circles, learning the routines of your fund employees, understanding their protocols, and cultivating trust. His charity work provided the perfect pretext to approach your wealthiest clients, Liam continued. He positioned himself as a philanthropic consultant, gaining intimate knowledge of their financial dealings under the pretense of advising on charitable contributions. A new alert popped up on Liam's screen. Elena's car is heading home, he noted, checking the timestamp. She's becoming more reckless. 3 years ago, she never stayed out past midnight. Now it's routine for her to be out until early morning. Victor watched the progress of the Tesla on the GPS tracker, his mind racing. The car purchase, he demanded. Explain it. Liam pulled up the transaction details. They used your personal credit card, not the company accounts. The dealership records list Daniel Cross as the authorized purchaser, with a power of attorney document that looks legitimate but isn't in our files. They were testing me, Victor said flatly. Exactly, Liam confirmed. A $75,000 purchase on your personal card. If you didn't notice that, they'd know they could escalate to larger transactions. Another monitor showed Elena's white Tesla pulling into the garage of their Beverly Hills building. Liam switched to the internal security feed, watching as she wavered slightly in her designer heels while heading to the private elevator. Sir, Liam hesitated, then continued. There's something else you need to see. He brought up a series of text messages. These are from Ava's phone to Daniel. She's not just a pawn. She's actively collaborating with them. The messages were damning. Dad's in Tokyo next week. Mom says that's the perfect time to copy his private files. Just got access to the client list from the fund. Daniel, you were right. There's so many targets. Mom's showing me how to move small amounts without triggering alerts. This is way more exciting than Dad's boring internship assignments. Victor Hayes read the messages in silence, his expression growing colder with each one. Finally, he spoke. You've done well, Liam. I want constant surveillance on all 3 of them. Every move, every call, every transaction. It's already in place, sir. Victor turned to leave, but paused at the door. And Liam, why did you wait until now to show me the journal? Liam met his gaze steadily. Because 3 months ago, you wouldn't have believed it. You needed to see the pattern yourself, sir. He hesitated. And I needed enough evidence to prove this wasn't just teenage rebellion or marital dissatisfaction. This is a coordinated criminal operation targeting you and the fund. Victor stepped into the office of Gilbert Morgan, the forensic accountant whose workspace resembled a tactical command center. The walls were covered with diagrams and flowcharts, each piece of the puzzle revealing a deeper, Betrayal. It's brilliant, Gilbert said grimly, gesturing at the intricate web of financial transactions. In a twisted way. Victor studied the patterns intently as Gilbert explained. Mrs. Hayes used the foundation as her perfect cover. Every questionable transfer appears legitimate, disguised as charitable initiatives. He pointed to a flowchart. Take this sequence. Officially, it's funding for women entrepreneurs. In reality, it's a network of shell companies controlled by her inner circle. Victor followed the money trail with his finger. Show me the progression. Gilbert handed him years of foundation records. She started small, a few thousand here and there, all meticulously documented. By the second year, she was authorized for six-figure transfers without oversight. The foundation board? Victor asked. Gilbert displayed the roster, stacked with her allies. Every new member connects to her network. It's an echo chamber, ensuring unanimous approval for her financial decisions. Ruben Cho, the IT security lead, entered with fresh data. Sir, we've completed the audit of system access. Their approach, remarkable. He spread out timelines detailing login records. They used Ava's internship as their gateway. Each week, she submitted legitimate requests for expanded access tied to her projects. Over 3 months, they built a comprehensive permissions network. And Elena's role? Victor asked. She insisted on overseeing Ava's internship herself, Ruben explained. It gave her perfect cover to expand access. Any questions were dismissed as a mother helping her daughter learn the business. A knock interrupted them as Liam entered with new surveillance photos. Sir, we've mapped their meeting patterns. Elena attends charity events 3 nights a week. Daniel shows up at 2/3 of them. They're careful, never arriving together, always maintaining plausible deniability. And the penthouse in Malibu? Victor asked. Registered to one of their shell companies, Liam said. They've used it for private meetings with potential targets, identified from the fund's records. Gilbert pulled up another financial summary. They've been pushing boundaries systematically. The car purchase wasn't their first move, just their first visible one. Smaller withdrawals have been happening for months, disguised as legitimate expenses. Through what channels? Victor asked. Primarily the foundation, Gilbert replied. Elena has established herself as a respected figure in philanthropic circles. She gives talks on financial empowerment and writes articles on wealth management. Victor's jaw tightened as the full scope of the betrayal came into focus. Let them think they're winning, he said coldly. It's almost time to make my move. On paper, she appears as a financial expert in her own right, Ruben noted. They've been gathering information through multiple channels. Ava's access to internal systems, Elena's social network, and Daniel's charity connections. Each element carefully coordinated. Liam laid out surveillance photos showing Daniel meeting with various fund employees. He's been methodical, building relationships across your organization. Middle managers, IT staff, even maintenance workers. Anyone who might have valuable access or information. Victor Hayes studied the evidence in silence. 3 years of preparation, 8 months of execution. His wife, his daughter, and a seasoned con artist, all working together to dismantle his legacy. Next step, sir? Liam asked. Victor turned to the window, gazing at the city below. Elena's white Tesla was pulling into the foundation's parking lot, right on schedule. She stepped out, impeccably dressed in designer clothing purchased with his money, heading for another day of planning his downfall. Continue monitoring, he ordered. Every call, every meeting, every transaction. I want to know every detail. Who they talk to, where they go, what they do. His reflection in the glass showed no emotion, only steely resolve. Let them believe their plan is succeeding. Let them feel confident. As the team dispersed, Victor remained at the window. Below, Elena greeted board members arriving for their morning meeting, her smile radiating practice charm. She had perfected her role, the accomplished philanthropist, the devoted mother, the aggrieved wife plotting her escape. Sir, Liam said from the doorway, there's one more thing you should see. He handed Victor a surveillance photo, showing Elena, Daniel, and Ava at dinner the previous night, laughing as though they were the picture-perfect family. They're planning something bigger, Liam warned. The car purchase was just the start. Victor placed a photo on his desk, next to Ava's journal. 3 years of groundwork had led to this. Elena had cultivated her network, built her credentials, and positioned her allies. Ava had been turned against him, transformed from a reluctant intern into an enthusiastic participant. And Daniel, or David, had orchestrated the entire operation, patient and meticulous. They thought they were executing the perfect plan, that Victor Hayes, the calculating mogul, was too preoccupied with his empire to notice. "Sir?" Gilbert asked cautiously. "Should we begin taking action?" "No," Victor said firmly. "For now we watch. We document. We let them think they're succeeding." He turned from the window, his expression carved from stone. "They want to challenge me in my own domain? Fine. Let's see how they handle losing before they even realize the game has started." The sun rose higher over Los Angeles, casting sharp shadows through the office windows. Below, Elena entered the foundation building, her designer briefcase filled with documents aimed at his destruction. Moments later, Daniel's sleek black Porsche pulled into a nearby spot, perfectly timed for their so-called charitable meeting. They had worked tirelessly to conceal their intentions, never realizing their own efforts had betrayed them. Watching their carefully choreographed deception, Victor felt nothing but cold satisfaction. Let them plan. Let them plot. They had no idea they were already defeated. Let them believe they were orchestrating his downfall. They would learn, as all his adversaries had, that underestimating Victor Hayes was a fatal error. The morning sun had barely kissed the Los Angeles skyline when Victor convened his response team in the secure conference room of his penthouse office. The space, designed for high-stakes merger negotiations, now served as the nerve center for a different kind of battle. Liam Cho stood at the head of the table, presenting surveillance footage across multiple screens. To his right, Marcus Reed analyzed legal documents with sharp precision. Gilbert Morgan, the forensic accountant, had filled one wall with an intricate financial flowchart. Ruben Cho, surrounded by 3 laptops, monitored live communications. "Gentlemen," Victor began, his voice firm and commanding, "show me what we've uncovered." Gilbert stepped forward, his laser pointer moving across the complex diagram. "Mrs. Hayes's diversion of funds has been methodical. Starting 3 years ago, she created a web of shell companies, each masked as legitimate charitable initiatives." He highlighted key transactions. "The pattern is remarkably sophisticated. Using her foundation position, she introduced multiple layers of separation. Money flows from the fund through charitable programs, eventually landing in accounts they control." "Total amount?" Victor asked, his face impassive. "Nearly $40 million over 3 years," Gilbert replied. The amounts increased as their confidence grew. Last quarter alone saw $12 million in diversions. He pulled up another chart. They employed a variety of methods: phony consulting fees, inflated vendor contracts, and falsified grant distributions. Ruben interrupted, his monitors flashing new data. "Sir, I've cracked their encrypted communication channel. You need to see this." The team gathered around Ruben's workstation as messages scrolled across the screen. "Daniel, the old man is completely oblivious. Keep feeding those investment pitches to his clients." "Elena, already done. 3 more signed up for our exclusive opportunity yesterday." "Daniel, excellent. Once we've pulled in enough client funds, we'll trigger the collapse. Hayes won't see it coming." "Elena? And Ava?" "Daniel, she's our biggest asset. Keep her focused on those system files. Her father's beloved internship program is our key to everything." Victor's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Show me the client list," he ordered. Liam brought up another screen. "They've targeted your top 20 clients, sir. Daniel has been using his charity connections to set up private meetings. He presents himself as an independent financial advisor," Liam explained, pushing specific investment opportunities that funnel money through their shell companies. Marcus added, spreading out legal documents. "Their operation is impressively complex. Every transaction has a seemingly legitimate paper trail." Elena's gradual acquisition of signing authority gave her the perfect alibi. Gilbert pointed to another section of his flowchart. "They've been particularly creative with the Foundation's international grants. Funds move through multiple jurisdictions, complicating the traceability. Each transfer has fabricated documentation, impact reports, research summaries, even mock audits. In Ava's role? Victor asked. Ruben displayed detailed system logs. Her access permissions have been leveraged flawlessly. During her internship, she accessed critical systems during normal working hours, making the activity look routine. Nothing appeared unusual. But after hours, those same credentials were used to access sensitive files from remote locations. Liam added surveillance photos to the evidence board. Daniel coached her on exactly what to look for. Here's footage from the fund's lobby. See how he's pointing out specific documents on her screen? He turned your daughter into their unwitting informant. Not entirely unwitting, Marcus interjected, handing Victor printed text messages. These show she knew she was helping them gather sensitive information. Her resentment toward your strict rules made her an easy target for their manipulation. The team worked tirelessly through the morning, uncovering the full extent of the betrayal. Elena's calculated planning, Daniel's methodical manipulation, Ava's willing involvement, all orchestrated to dismantle the empire Victor had built. Sir, Liam said quietly, there's more you need to see. He played security footage from Ava's last visit to the office. The teenager sat at her intern desk, photographing confidential documents while Daniel waited in the lobby. A text message flashed on the screen, sending you the good stuff. Ava had written to Daniel. Dad's going to lose it when he realizes his perfect heir helped bring him down. Victor watched the footage in silence, his expression cold and unyielding. When he finally spoke, his tone carried the sharp, deliberate authority that had made him a titan in Los Angeles. Compile everything, every transaction, every communication, every betrayal. I want a complete record of their actions. He turned to his team. They think they're dismantling my empire? Let's remind them exactly who they're dealing with. The team dispersed, each focused on their task, knowing the weight of what was at stake. Outside the window, the financial heart of Los Angeles buzzed with its usual rhythm, unaware that one of its most powerful figures was preparing for battle. Judge Nelson Mitchell's chambers stood in sharp contrast to the sleek, modern architecture of downtown Los Angeles. The dark wood paneling and shelves lined with leather-bound law books gave the space an air of gravity as the judge reviewed the evidence Marcus had presented. This goes far beyond family court, Judge Mitchell said, his discerning eyes scanning the complex financial documents. We're talking federal securities fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy charges. The scale of this operation is staggering. Marcus nodded and placed another file on the desk. The pattern becomes clear when you examine previous cases. Daniel Cross, or rather, David Sloan, has run similar schemes before. He targets wealthy families with teenage children, using the kids to access insider information while building relationships with their mothers. But this is unprecedented in scale. How does this compare to previous cases? Judge Mitchell asked. No prior attempt approached this level, Your Honor, Marcus explained. Past operations were limited to a few $1,000,000. He spread out a set of financial records on the judge's desk. This time, they've diverted nearly $40 million through a sophisticated web of shell companies. Even more concerning, they've compromised client accounts at one of the largest hedge funds in the country. The judge leaned back, his expression grave. Explain their methodology. Marcus laid out a detailed timeline. 3 years ago, Elena Hayes began integrating herself into the philanthropic world. She joined specific boards, all tied to wealthy divorcees who had successfully extracted large settlements. Each connection brought expertise in a different aspect of high-net-worth divorce strategy. And the daughter? The judge asked. A critical asset, Marcus replied. They used Ava's summer internship to gain access to the fund's internal systems. Her credentials access confidential files, client portfolios, trading records, all under the pretense of learning the family business. Hey! Knock interrupted their discussion. Victor Hayes entered, his commanding presence filling the room effortlessly. Your Honor. Judge Mitchell gestured toward a chair. Mr. Hayes, I've been reviewing the evidence. This is unprecedented. Indeed, Victor replied, his tone devoid of emotion. They've compromised not only my personal assets but also my clients' investments. Show him the client list, Marcus. The attorney handed over a detailed document. Daniel Sloan has been targeting the fund's wealthiest clients, using charity events as cover for private meetings. He recommends specific investments designed to funnel money into accounts they control. How did they gain such deep access? The judge asked. Elena spent years building legitimacy, Marcus explained. She took financial courses, published articles on wealth management, and spoke at industry conferences. Meanwhile, Daniel cultivated relationships with fund employees, learning protocols and security measures. And now they're executing their endgame, Victor stated. The car purchase was a test to see if I'd notice a significant unauthorized expense. When I didn't react, they accelerated their plans. Judge Mitchell reviewed the growing pile of evidence. Surveillance photos of Daniel meeting wealthy clients, financial records revealing intricate transactions, and text messages showing the calculated nature of their scheme. Your daughter's involvement complicates matters, the judge noted. Ava made her choice, Victor replied firmly. She's not an innocent bystander. The evidence shows she fully understood her actions. Marcus presented additional documents. We've traced their communications. Daniel coached her on what information to gather and which systems to access. She provided the intelligence willingly, driven by rebellion and Daniel's manipulation. A clerk entered with urgent papers, which Judge Mitchell reviewed quickly, his expression darkening. The SEC has opened a preliminary inquiry into irregular trading patterns in several client accounts. Exactly as we anticipated, Marcus noted. Daniel's investment recommendations have created a pattern of suspicious activity, drawing regulatory attention. Victor stood, gazing out the chamber windows at the bustling city below. They think they're playing a sophisticated game, using my daughter's access, my wife's connections, and my client's trust to dismantle what I've built. What are you proposing? The judge asked. A coordinated response, Marcus answered, presenting a detailed brief. We've documented every transaction, every communication, and every breach of trust. The evidence supports criminal charges far beyond the scope of a divorce case. The judge studied the brief carefully. This will require precise timing. Already arranged, Victor stated. My team has been building this case methodically, documenting every detail, preparing every move. They won't see it coming. They believe this is a simple high-net-worth divorce with some financial manipulation, Marcus added. They have no idea we've uncovered the full extent of their operation. Judge Mitchell nodded, signing several documents. Proceed with your strategy, gentlemen. But be ready. Cases like this often expose unexpected complexities. Let them come, Victor replied, his voice unwavering. They chose to attack my empire. Now they'll understand the consequences. As they left the judge's chambers, Marcus reviewed their next steps. The legal machinery was in motion, each component calibrated for maximum impact. Sir, Marcus hesitated. Elena's attorney has requested a meeting. They're likely preparing their divorce strategy. Let them prepare, Victor said, his expression unchanged. They think they're playing chess. They haven't realized the game is already over. The trap had been constructed with patience and precision, like a web spun by a master strategist. Victor Hayes sat in his office, watching multiple screens tracking the key players in this final act. Everything was in position, waiting for the targets to make their anticipated moves. Sir, Liam's voice came through the intercom. Daniel Sloan just pulled into the garage. He's taking Ava for their weekly father-daughter outing. Victor allowed himself a cold smile. They predicted this. Daniel's attempts to manipulate Ava with staged bonding moments had become routine. The sleek black Porsche was Daniel's emblem of supposed superiority, his way of presenting Ava with a glamorous life that her dull father couldn't provide. Teams in position, Liam continued. FBI units are stationed at all exits. SEC investigators are ready to move on the trading floor. Local authorities are coordinated for the foundation office. Every detail had been meticulously prepared. Over recent weeks, Victor had moved assets strategically, using legitimate business activities as a front. Meanwhile, Liam coordinated with federal agents who had been independently building their case against Daniel for previous frauds. Financial containment is ready, sir. Gilbert's voice came over another channel. All flagged accounts are monitored, and transfer protocols are in place. Mrs. Hayes's location? Victor asked. At the foundation, Reuben reported. She's meeting with the board to present their latest strategic initiative, or rather, their final push to transfer major assets. The screen displayed Elena Hayes at the head of the foundation's conference table, composed and confident as she presented PowerPoint slides detailing what seemed to be legitimate philanthropic projects. Her audience, comprised of wealthy donors and board members, was oblivious to the sophisticated fraud unfolding before them. Ava's status? Victor asked. Just got into the Porsche, Liam confirmed. Daniel's taking his usual route toward the highway. Marcus entered Victor's office with a folder of legal documents. Everything's ready, sir. Judge Mitchell signed the final orders this morning. The moment Daniel crosses state lines with Ava in that car, federal jurisdiction is triggered. Victor finished his thought, and the Porsche itself, purchased with fraudulent funds, can be seized as evidence the moment they cross. The trap was ready. 3 years of Elena's meticulous planning, 8 months of Daniel's calculated manipulation, and Ava's willing betrayal were about to unravel in a single, coordinated strike. Sir, Liam interrupted, Mrs. Hayes just received a text from Daniel. She's leaving the foundation meeting early. On the screen, Elena made a graceful excuse to the board, gathering her designer briefcase filled with documents. Documents that had already been cataloged, every transaction traced, every message monitored. Let her think she's escaping, Victor commanded. Maintain surveillance, but don't intervene. The trap was constructed with psychological precision. Let them feel secure. Let them believe their plans were succeeding. Let them take those final, irreversible steps to seal their fate. Daniel's approaching the state line, Liam reported. Ava's still texting from the passenger seat. He read the latest message aloud. Mom, you won't believe how furious Dad will be when he finds out about the car. Victor checked his watch. Execute. The response was immediate and overwhelming. FBI vehicles surrounded Daniel's Porsche, boxing it in with surgical precision. At the Foundation's office, SEC agents arrived with warrants, securing files and devices. Local police intercepted Elena before she could reach her intended escape route. Status? Victor demanded. Daniel and Ava are in custody, Liam confirmed. He tried to argue it was just a father-daughter drive, but the FBI has documentation of every fraudulent action. The Porsche is being impounded. Mrs. Hayes? Arrested while attempting to delete files from her Foundation computer. All devices seized. All accounts frozen. The screen showed the operation unfolding like clockwork. Elena's carefully constructed social facade crumbled as federal agents escorted her out in handcuffs. Daniel's charity associates looked on in disbelief as boxes of evidence were carried from his office. Ava's classmates filmed with their phones as she sat in the back of an FBI vehicle, her ambitions shattered. Sir, Marcus entered with updated reports. The evidence is irrefutable. Elena's 3 years of preparation show clear premeditation. Daniel's operation adds to his history of fraud convictions. And Ava, her role is fully documented. Every system breach, Victor stated coldly, every photograph, every instance of willing complicity. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across Victor's office as he watched his family's betrayal collapse under its own weight. They believed themselves clever, patient, and sophisticated. They never realized they were mere pawns in a game whose rules he had mastered long ago. Your orders, sir? Liam asked. Execute the remaining protocols, Victor commanded. Every account frozen, every asset secured, every connection severed. Turning from the window, his expression was resolute, the same determination that had built his empire. They wanted to play this game. Now they'll learn the cost of losing. As his team carried out the final steps, Victor opened Ava's journal from his desk, the document that had first revealed their betrayal. Soon it would join the mountain of evidence against them. For now, it served as a reminder. In finance, as in family, trust must be earned, and betrayal carried consequences no scheme could evade. The news broke like a thunderclap across Los Angeles. Family fraud scheme targets Hayes' empire in $40 million conspiracy. Headlines dominated the city's financial district, shaking elite social circles. In the high-security federal courtroom, Elena Hayes' polished demeanor finally fractured. Her designer suit could not conceal the tremor in her hands as Judge Mitchell read the charges. The evidence of premeditation is overwhelming, the judge declared, his voice steady but firm. 3 years of systematic planning documented through financial records, communications, and testimony. U.S. Attorney Rachel Hammond took the podium, her tone precise and damning. Your Honor, the defendant's actions demonstrate deliberate intent. Mrs. Hayes did not stumble into this scheme. She engineered it. The timeline illustrates methodical execution. The prosecutor displayed a series of incriminating documents on the courtroom screens as the weight of the evidence settled over the room. Beginning 3 years ago, the defendant strategically embedded herself in charitable boards, each step carefully planned to secure financial access. She exploited her own daughter's internship program to breach security systems. This wasn't desperation, it was calculated design. Elena's attorney tried to interject. Your Honor, my client was influenced by Mr. Sloan's sophisticated manipulation. Actually, Elena interrupted, her composed demeanor cracking too. Reveal raw arrogance. I planned this long before Daniel. He just brought additional expertise. She turned toward Victor Hayes, her expression twisted with disdain. You thought I'd just keep playing the perfect corporate wife? Standing in your shadow while you controlled everything. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Even her attorney appeared shaken by her brazen admission of premeditation. From the prosecution's row, Liam Cho leaned toward Marcus Reed. She's proud of it, he muttered. 3 years of betrayal, destroying her family, and she treats it like an achievement. Daniel Sloan, seated at a separate defense table, looked nothing like his usual self-assured persona. His prior convictions had been entered into evidence, each failed scheme building up to this audacious attack on the Hayes fortune. Mr. Sloan, Judge Mitchell addressed him, your criminal history shows a clear pattern of exploiting wealthy families through their children. However, the scale of this operation far exceeds your previous attempts. Because those were practice runs, Daniel sneered, his smooth charm replaced by bitterness. Hayes here thinks he's untouchable with his billions and his rules. We just gave his little princess what she wanted. Freedom from daddy's control. Victor remained expressionless, his steely gaze fixed as his. Wife and her accomplice revealed their true selves. The masks of devoted mother and supportive partner were gone, replaced by sheer ambition and spite. The evidence piled up throughout the day. Financial records detailed Elena's gradual consolidation of power under the guise of legitimate transactions. Surveillance footage showed Daniel coaching Ava to access restricted systems. Email correspondence exposed their coordinated efforts to manipulate Victor's fund clients. Addressing Ava's involvement, Judge Mitchell turned to the teenager, who sat beside child services representatives. Her once prestigious private school uniform had been replaced with conservative attire that failed to conceal her defiant scowl. While Ms. Hayes' age protects her from criminal charges, the judge began. Her actions carry consequences. The evidence clearly demonstrates her willing participation in defrauding her father's clients. Additional documentation from her school's ethics committee further highlighted Ava's misconduct. Text messages revealed her boasting to classmates about helping Daniel exploit their parents' investments. Security footage captured her photographing confidential documents while mocking her father's reputation. I just wanted to help Mom be happy, Ava blurted, her teenage bravado faltering. Dad never let me do anything normal. It was always his stupid rules and his precious company. That's right, sweetheart, Elena called out, earning an immediate reprimand from the judge. Your father's control issues drove us to this. Independence? Victor's voice finally broke through, cutting sharply across the room. He stood, his tone carrying the same commanding authority that dominated boardrooms. You orchestrated a complex financial fraud, manipulated my daughter, targeted my clients. Don't disguise greed as liberation. The afternoon continued with expert testimony highlighting the scheme's sophistication. Forensic accountants outlined the intricate network of shell companies, IT specialists detailed how Elena and Daniel systematically elevated their access to fund systems. Former charity board members testified to being unwittingly used to legitimize fraudulent transactions. The foundation's activities alone show extraordinary premeditation, U.S. Attorney Rachel Hammond explained. Mrs. Hayes constructed an elaborate framework of charitable initiatives, each carefully designed to mask the flow of stolen funds. The courtroom screens displayed financial charts and transaction histories, each more damning than the last, as the weight of the evidence bore down on Elena and Daniel. She displayed a chart tracking the gradual rise in diverted funds. As their confidence grew, so did their ambition. Elena's composure began to crack under the mounting evidence. "You think I wanted to keep playing the perfect wife?" she spat at. "Victor Hayes, everything had to be your way. Our daughter's education, our social circle, even my charity work had to serve your image." "The charity work that you turned into a fraud scheme?" Judge Mitchell interrupted. "The evidence suggests you viewed every aspect of your marriage as an opportunity for financial exploitation." Daniel Sloan's testimony added further layers to the scheme. He detailed how they selected their targets, leveraging Ava's resentment and Elena's social connections to gather critical intelligence. His past schemes had taught him how to exploit family dynamics, but the Hayes operation was his crowning achievement. Hayes thought he was untouchable with his security protocols, Daniel sneered, but he never realized his biggest weakness was sitting at his own dinner table, his perfect little family, plotting his downfall over breakfast. The judge's final summation was damning. The evidence demonstrates a degree of premeditation that far exceeds typical financial fraud. Mrs. Hayes spent 3 years systematically positioning herself to attack her husband's assets. Mr. Sloan brought criminal expertise to escalate the scheme. Together, they manipulated a minor child into betraying her father and jeopardizing client security. As federal marshals led Elena and Daniel away, their true selves were laid bare. The veneer of the refined socialite and the charming advisor was gone. They were exposed as grifters whose ambitions had finally overreached. Victor watched them leave, his expression unchanging. He had built his empire by identifying threats and neutralizing them without hesitation. His family had once accused him of being cold and unfeeling, but they had never understood. His strength came from seeing reality without illusions. The headlines dominated the media for weeks. Socialite's 3-year plot to destroy hedge fund empire. Teen heiress manipulated in family fraud scandal. Charitable foundation exposed as massive fraud. Yet, as Victor sat in the courtroom, watching his wife and her accomplice led away in handcuffs while his daughter faced the repercussions of her actions, he displayed no satisfaction, no pain, and no regret. He had eradicated a threat to his empire, nothing more. That the threat had come from his own family only reinforced his belief. Trust must be earned, and betrayal must be punished. 1 year later, Victor Hayes sat in his newly expanded office suite, reviewing reports of record growth for his fund. The panoramic windows offered the same sweeping view of Los Angeles, but the office had been completely redesigned. No trace remained of the space where he had uncovered his family's betrayal. A knock at the door announced Liam Cho's entrance. "Sir, the latest updates on our former security risks." Victor nodded, his attention still partially on the market data streaming across his monitors. "Elena's social network has collapsed entirely," Liam reported. "Her carefully curated connections want nothing to do with her now. The extent of her deception was too damaging. None of them can risk being associated with her schemes." "And the foundation board?" Victor asked. "Most of them have turned into prosecution witnesses," Liam replied. "They're providing detailed accounts of how she manipulated charitable operations for personal gain. Her reputation in philanthropic circles is irreparably destroyed." Victor allowed himself a small smile. Elena had spent years crafting her social empire, positioning herself as a respected voice in Los Angeles society. Now, those same connections were scrambling to testify against her, desperate to distance themselves. "And Sloan's charity contacts?" Victor pressed. "They're fully cooperating with investigators," Liam confirmed. "His previous victims have come forward, exposing similar patterns of manipulation. The FBI is even using his methods as a case study in affinity fraud." The intercom buzzed. "Mr. Hayes," his assistant's voice came through. "Ms. O'Donnell from Sterling Walsh is here for your meeting." "Send her in," Victor replied. Cecilia O'Donnell entered, a leather briefcase in hand that likely cost more than most cars. At 45, she commanded attention not through manipulation, but through sheer competence. Her reputation as one of Wall Street's sharpest legal minds had been earned through intelligence and ruthless precision. "The settlement negotiations are proceeding as expected," Cecilia O'Donnell reported as she took a seat. "Elena's attempts to claim marital assets have been systematically dismantled. The evidence of criminal intent negates any claim to legitimate earnings." "And her latest request?" Victor Hayes asked. Cecilia's expression betrayed professional distaste. "She's asking for a meeting before her sentencing. It's a transparent attempt to manipulate old ties. Her lawyer suggests she might provide information about additional conspirators in exchange for leniency." "Deny it," Victor stated coldly. "We already have everything we need." Liam Cho cleared his throat. "Sir, there's also an update regarding Ava. Her private school's ethics committee reviewed the evidence of her role in defrauding other students' families. The expulsion is final." Victor showed no reaction. His daughter had made her choice, siding with criminals who turned her teenage rebellion into a weapon against her own father. "She's been writing letters," Liam added cautiously. "One arrives every month, always from the same Beverly Hills address." "Return them unopened," Victor instructed. "Same protocol as always." Cecilia glanced at another document. "The broader impact on your operations has been remarkably positive. Your decisive response to the internal threat has reinforced client confidence. The fund's assets under management have increased by 20% since the arrests." "The market respects strength," Victor observed. "Show weakness in the face of betrayal, and you invite more attacks." A junior analyst appeared at the door, holding urgent reports. The market was shifting, new opportunities on the horizon. Victor's reputation for seizing advantages had only grown stronger since he proved his ability to eliminate threats, even from within his own family. "One more thing," Liam added as they prepared to leave. "Elena's lawyer made an interesting comment during the deposition. She kept insisting, 'I just needed my own identity.' Apparently, that's her justification for everything." Victor's expression didn't change. She chose her identity. Now she can live with it. Later that afternoon, Victor stood at his office windows, surveying the city he had conquered twice, first through financial acumen, and again by defeating those who sought to use his family against him. His empire had emerged stronger, his reputation more formidable. The sun cast long shadows over Los Angeles' skyline as another victorious day drew to a close. Below, the streets buzzed with people heading home. Unaware, they passed beneath the office of a man who had shown that family was no shield against consequences. Elena's social circle had disbanded like leaves in a storm, her former allies eagerly turning witness against her. Daniel's charity connections had betrayed him, and his once sophisticated scheme was now a cautionary tale in financial fraud. Ava had chosen her path, aligning with criminals who promised freedom but delivered only betrayal. Victor Hayes had built his fortune with ruthless strategic brilliance, and he had preserved it by understanding that loyalty transcends blood. Now, he would build something even greater, stronger, sharper, forged in the fire of betrayal and tempered by unwavering principles. The markets offered fresh opportunities, arising from the chaos of lesser men's failures. There would be more battles, more victories, but no one would dare question again that crossing Victor Hayes carried severe consequences, no matter how close the connection. 5 years passed, marked by the unrelenting growth of the Hayes financial empire. The fund's assets had surged to $5 billion, each success grounded in a foundation of integrity and ruthless competence. What might have destroyed a lesser man had instead solidified Victor Hayes' core belief: trust must be earned, and loyalty matters more than blood. The corner office had expanded again, now encompassing the entire top floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows provided a panoramic view of the city Victor continued to dominate. Yet the most significant change was seated across from him. Cecilia O'Donnell, no longer just his attorney, but now his wife and partner, sharing in his vision and the empire he had rebuilt. The Singapore expansion is progressing ahead of schedule, Cecilia O'Donnell reported, her sharp legal acumen proving invaluable in strategic growth. The new compliance protocols you implemented are being hailed as industry standards. Victor Hayes nodded as he reviewed the reports. After uncovering his family's betrayal, he had rebuilt his organization with unassailable security measures. No single individual, no matter their position or relationship to him, could ever again gain enough access to jeopardize the entire enterprise. The trust fund conversion is complete, Cecilia continued. All proceeds now support scholarships for children of fraud victims. The Foundation Board approved it unanimously. A touch of irony lingered in the statement. The money that could have been Ava's inheritance now funded opportunities for families victimized by schemes like the one she had helped execute. Her monthly letters still arrived, each returned unopened. The Beverly Hills return address remained unchanged, but nothing she could write would undo the choices she had made. Liam Cho appeared at the door. "Sir, the latest security review is complete. All systems updated, all protocols enhanced." Liam had been promoted to Chief of Global Security, his loyalty during the crisis rewarded with greater responsibility. "There's also been another update regarding Mr. Sloan," Liam added. Daniel Sloan, formerly known as Jake Russell, faced decades in maximum security. His sophisticated operation had become a case study in financial fraud, taught in law enforcement academies as an example of how family dynamics could be exploited for criminal gain. "He's attempted to negotiate again," Liam continued. "Offered to reveal details about additional operations in exchange for leniency. His lawyer claims he has information about other conspirators." "Deny it," Victor stated flatly. "Let him serve his time." Elena had fared little better. While her minimum security facility offered more comfort than Daniel's prison, her carefully curated social world had crumbled beyond repair. Former friends had eagerly testified against her. Each revelation of her schemes, dismantling another connection she had so meticulously cultivated. The intercom buzzed. "Mr. Hayes, the new interns are here for orientation." "Send them up," he replied. A group of young, eager faces entered the room, nervous but excited. The intern program had been completely overhauled, now focused on identifying and nurturing genuine talent rather than accommodating family connections. Every candidate was selected through blind evaluation, judged solely on merit and potential. "Welcome to Hayes Financial Management," Victor addressed them, his voice carrying the authority that had only grown stronger through adversity. "You're here because you earned this opportunity. What you do with it depends entirely on your choices." The hard-learned lesson of merit over privilege had been an expensive but valuable one. These interns would understand that success was built on competence and loyalty, not manipulation or betrayal. Later, as the sun set over Los Angeles, Victor and Cecilia reviewed the day's achievements. The markets had moved as predicted, opportunities seized with precise timing. The fund's reputation for excellence had never been stronger. "The annual Fraud Prevention Endowment is ready for distribution," Cecilia noted. "The research projects show promising results." Another irony. The endowment served both as practical protection and a fitting memorial to the family Victor had lost through their own choices. "The Singapore team asked about implementation timelines," she continued. "They're eager to prove themselves." "They'll have their chance," Victor replied. "Trust is earned through action, not promises." It was a truth he had always understood, but one his family had failed to grasp. Real strength, Victor knew, came from facing reality without illusions. Love without accountability was weakness. Trust without verification invited betrayal. Family meant nothing without loyalty. As night fell, the city lights twinkled like stars scattered across the earth. Somewhere in that glittering sprawl, Elena served her sentence, her once powerful connections now meaningless. Daniel faced decades in prison, his intricate schemes reduced to cautionary tales. And Ava, she had chosen her path, aligning with those who had weaponized her teenage rebellion against her own future. High above the endless cityscape, Victor Hayes had rebuilt something unassailable. His new wife, Cecilia, brought not only her wealth, but also her sharp legal mind to their partnership. Together, they had forged a fund that had grown beyond the reach of mere greed or betrayal. What had been threatened by treachery had emerged stronger than ever, a testament to the power of unwavering principle and strategic brilliance. Success, Victor Hayes had demonstrated, came not from trust freely given, but from loyalty rightfully earned. The markets never slept, offering opportunities amidst the chaos of lesser men's failures. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new battles, and new victories, but the core lessons remained constant. Trust demanded vigilance. Family was defined by loyalty, not blood, and some betrayals drew lines that could never be crossed again. Liam Cho entered with the final security reports for the day. "Sir, there's one more item you should see." He placed a familiar cream-colored envelope on Victor's desk, Ava's monthly letter, right on schedule. Without a word, Victor stamped it return to sender and handed it back. 5 years of monthly letters, each returned unopened. Some choices couldn't be undone. Some bridges were beyond repair. "The new compliance protocols are attracting significant attention," Cecilia O'Donnell observed, shifting the conversation smoothly. Her voice, calm and measured, carried the sharpness of a legal mind that had become an invaluable ally. The partnership between Victor and Cecilia had grown into a formidable force, ensuring that the lessons of betrayal were not just remembered, but applied to every facet of their operations. Together, they had built something unshakable, a foundation strengthened by principle and protected by unrelenting vigilance.